Hey, what's up, guys? It is Rapmark here. So, doing my review for episode 1, season 3 of The Mandalorian. So, I entirely forgot that this was happening. And I had checked, and I was honestly going to try to do something with the other two seasons, which I hadn't reviewed. I wasn't really doing reviews when the first season came out. I think that's when I was like first starting and was kind of sporadically uploading. And the second season was when I was really like down. I mean, it was in the middle of COVID, really depressed. I mean, I had the time, I just didn't have the motivation to. So, uh, this kind of I wouldn't say throws a wrench in my plans, but it kind of like makes me want to like, how would I do that if it did? Do I want to do episode by episode? Do I want to, because they're mostly in episodes of nine or of eight, I should say. So do it in like groups of three. Um, with two at the end or whatever. Split it in half. That's another thing I could do. I mean, I could do three parts. I can split it in half, or I can do each of the other two seasons. So I'd like some input on that because I'd still like to put out something, even though I've already seen them in terms of reviews for the other seasons. So if you want to leave some feedback on that in the comments or anything, feel free to do that. So anyway, on to chapter or season or episode 1 of season 3. How did I feel about this? This was this was a very mixed bag, to be completely honest. So I loved the practical effects. I loved the CGI. The music, of course. Um, I love the backdrops, the locations. Unfortunately, the story and the characters left a lot to be desired on this. Like, this episode essentially feels like when you're in a video game and you go to a hub center and you just take on side quests, and these quests beget new quests, and it felt tacky. There was essentially like very contrived storylines, um, things that made no sense, things that were generally bad and cringy. Um, and yeah, I'm just like, man, what is going on with this? Like, so I really loved season one. Season one was the greatest. Season two was still good. It made some decisions that which I wasn't quite a full fan of, and then this and something that I heard read is that something apparently Favreau had said that there is no plan, and that's that really worries me because you don't ever want to get into that with a beloved franchise. That's how we got Lost. For anyone who remembers that show, it you got really invested in these characters and the story, and then there was no plan, and then it ended so the ending was so bad that it literally destroyed any goodwill that thing had had. And that's kind of also what happened with like Game of Thrones as well. I mean, there was a plan, they knew it had to end, but without the last book out, they kind of made their own ending, and it was bad, which is my opinion. I know that's not universal, but yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at here. There was some good action, like I will say that. There is a space pirate battle, which I absolutely enjoyed. Um, there was a lot more variety in like aliens. So if, in Andor, a lot there was a complaint that there weren't any aliens, and now there's aliens everywhere. But there were some things that just didn't make sense, and I'm just it just that felt weird. Like there was a point of where they're trying to build IG. Like I'll go into it in scene breakdown, but just roughly on what I felt about this episode is I felt that it was just like, hey, you know all these characters. Bo-Katan, she's still around. She's not doing so well, but she's still here. Grief Karga, I he's still here. Din Djarin, the armorer, he's still here. Grogu looked cute. He was adorable. I love Grogu. Everyone loves Grogu. Can't really say anything bad there. But it was also kind of weird, like how in the book of Boba Fett, it sort of explain like the armor kind of explains like how he can get redemption, and then in this episode, it kind of is the reverse, where she's saying it's impossible. He's saying maybe it's not, and I'm just like, this is kind of going a weird thing. They kind of had a season look back at the beginning of it, but it only showed like 4 or 5 different things that, and again, without context, you have no idea. So it didn't really do a good job. Like, you might have to look back on it. And again, I've seen both seasons. But yeah, this one just didn't feel. This episode felt disappointing for the fact that we waited essentially 2 years for this. And that's really unfortunate, because this is one of those franchises that a lot of people like. I really like. I was actually really looking forward to this, and yeah, so that's sort of where I'm at. Where would I give this? God, hiccups. I would probably say I'm gonna give this a 6. This is like barely above average stuff. Like they could do so much better. And then, like, I hope they have a plan. I hope that Favreau is not serious when he said that, and he's just riffing or whatever. But man, they need to step their game up for episode 2, or it's going to get really disappointing really fast, and I don't want that. I want this to continue to be a show I enjoy. I want this to be fun, but at the same time well put together. And not like essentially the Book of Boba Fett, that I just felt like was written for really dumb children. So anyway, yeah, 6 out of 10. A really mixed bag start. Not a great start for this. So yeah, with that, let's go into the episode breakdown. We have the sort of recap. I mean, it shows his exile. It shows the dark saber. It shows a couple other things. I know Grogu's in there at some point. but yeah, and then we go into this planet. There's this cave, and there are a lot of Mandalorians, in this tribe that he's in, and man, it's there. So they're inducting a child into the tribe, um, and then in the middle of all, like, and again that they had a stunt double for him, I believe, because there is a point where you see there's long hair coming out, and then another scene where there's not long hair coming out, and also when the armor is working on the helmet, you see it in various portions of completion. But what's weird is you seem to regress in some of the shots instead of just a perpetual forward motion toward having this helmet. There are some parts where it's just like, oh, we have a curve, we have some divots, to wow, okay, this is a flat piece of sheep of Beskar, and I'm just like, man, whoever shot this was not was not at their A game. And that's nitpicks. Like, this is the least of like my issues with this episode. But you have this sort of aquatic turtle alligator thing, comes out, eats one immediately, and they're all just trying to attack it. At some point, a few of them like put like the grappling hooks on it, and it's just like, what are you doing? Like, you weigh maybe 160, 180, whatever, 200 maybe, depending on your armor. This thing probably weighs like a few dozens worth of tons, and I'm just like, it looked really like these Mandos looked incompetent, which is really sad, because these are supposed to be like elite, and yeah, they got their asses kicked by a turtle alligator thing. And then, Din Djarin comes in, and blasts it in the side, kills it. And then there's that. And then, again, you have the same speech that was in the Book of Boba Fett. It's just like, you took off your helmet. You are exiled. You are not a Mandalorian. And it's like, dude, man, why do you care about this so much? This is so silly. But, and yeah, so he brings this thing that he got from Jawas, they got from a traveler in trade, and she says that this is more proof that the surface was glassed and is poisoned, but apparently no one has actually checked because they believe it's cursed, and it's, I don't know, like there is so much superstition that just makes me want, like, this storyline is like, come on, how are we going to get past this? Because at this point, it's becoming more and more contrived the more time goes on, and less interesting is the problem with it. And again, it kind of reverses Din Djarin's and the armorer's roles from the Book of Boba Fett, where she explains what he needs to do for redemption, and he thinks it's impossible. Now it's her saying it's impossible, but he's saying, I'm going to at least check, it's possible, whatever. So yeah, it seemed very pointless. It was essentially a recap of stuff we already knew. It, yeah, it just didn't work. And then the whole, creature with the Mandos, it was very badly written because they all look just incompetent. And where the heck did all of these Mandalorians come from? Because there was only like 2 or 3 in the tribe, in Book of Boba Fett, and even after. So how many people are in this tribe? Yeah, it blows my mind. So anyway, then he goes back to Navarro. And it looks very different, like to the point where, this looks nothing like the set. This is a completely different set. This is something, totally different from how it was. And then you see this sort of statue of IG-11, and at first, I first thought like it was just a statue, just like, okay, that's kind of cool, give him sort of a little bit of a memory. And then later they're like, no, that's really him. Like, part of it's a statue, but the rest of it's him. And it's like he self-destructed. That is not a good self-destruct if he is able to put himself back together again. That makes no sense. Like, why? But yeah, because plot is essentially why. So he goes there. That's essentially his whole thing, is he wants a droid that he can trust. And it's just like, again, you could get any droid you want, and like, come on, you can get another droid. And I don't know. I mean, there are so many droids everywhere, and I'm sure he could get a specialized assassin droid or whatever. Just like, he's my friend. It's just like, he's a, well, I can't say that. I can't just say he's a robot. But at the end of the day, like, that's kind of where we're at. Like, he just doesn't have the same gravitas and charm and things, though, that I've come to expect from robots, like the one in Rogue One, the ones, R2-D2, C-3PO. And it just seems so contrived. But anyway, he goes, meets Grief Karga, Carl Weathers' character. He is now the High Magistrate, which he plays up a lot. It's kind of funny. It does work. He originally offers him the position of Marshal, to which he moves down. He offers him a piece of land. She asks what's happening to Cara Dune, and it's just like, yeah, that whole shit show is just like, honestly, don't be dumb, don't open your mouth, and don't break your contract when they're asking you to, like, stop saying like stupid stuff. Believe what you want to believe, but I mean, when you are promoting the venomous crap that she is, it's just like, she deserved what she got. And I enjoyed her character, don't get me wrong, but she deserved what she got. She had a big mouth. I mean, hell, like I said before, Pedro Pascal talked to her about this stuff, and she still is just like, nah. So, whatever. Anyway, but yeah, so he says no to both of those. He's just there to rebuild IG-1, and in just this convoluted thing. So anyway, they take him, what's left of him, charge him, you think. It didn't work. but then it does work, and then he goes into kill mode. He goes into his default setting, and then there's just this scene that I'm just like, what the hell? Yeah, it was not good. It was not good. It was so essentially it comes crawl like it is creepy because it's doing like this Terminator thing of crawling with one hand forward and trying to kill Grogu, and Din is just like shooting and I don't know if he's missing it or if there's something like that shots aren't doing anything, which makes no sense because they did do stuff like in previous seasons. It started off creepy and then it just turned into just super cringe fest, and he hands Grogu off to Carl Weathers' character. He's like, shoot him, and he's shooting like nothing's happening. It's just like, what is going on here? I don't understand. And then Carl's robot pushes a bust of him, and it crushes the thing's head, and it's just like, all right, well that's done. No, it's not. So he tells him to give it to the I forget what they're called. Anzellan. The Anzellans, I guess. I'm maybe butchering that pronunciation, but yeah. And it's just like, can you repair him? Just like, yeah, but he's missing a part. And just like, can you find another part? Very hard to find. We don't have one. And then he's just like, get a new droid. And he's just like, no. And then he's just like, I think I know where to get a part. And then he goes to go a new memory core, essentially. The thing I liked about this is, so the Anzellans are the same species as Babu Freak. So that was fun. And the way they speak is a little like they speak English, but they also interspace it with bits of their languages. So Carl Weathers' character is constantly translating, but even when they turn into English, and then Grogu is like at the end, he grabs one, picks it up. It's just like, what's the, that was a fun scene. That was funny. You can be silly in Star Wars. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you can't be silly in Star Wars. Not everything in Star Wars needs to be like Andor type, just dark, bleak, serious. You can have some silliness in your Star Wars. That I don't mind. And that scene worked really well with that, in my opinion. But then we got, like, he goes to repair okay, I missed something. Okay, the pirate scene. And this is another one that I'm just like, so while they're talking in Carl Weathers' office, his robot comes and tells him that there are pirates out there, and they want to have it. They're trying to get into the school, which used to be a bar, and it's just like, there's no bar here. It's a school, and like what? Like, he offers them to have drinks in his office, and they're, I don't know. The whole scene just seemed forced. The drama was forced. Everything was needless and not deserving of, the fact that everyone except for the main guy got killed. It just seemed so just out of nowhere and for no good reason. I was not that impressed with it. I did like, how Carl Weathers and Mando managed to take them all out at once. So I mean, still good action, but again, like that whole situation scene, like felt really forced, and like I didn't get why it needed to happen. So anyway, he goes back. Like, why don't you kill him? They'll know that this planet is not, welcoming to pirates anymore. And it's just like, you have all this money and all this stuff to build all this totally different set of a planet that we've all seen, but you can't let out that it's, you don't want pirates, or I don't know. But he wants it to remain independent. Um, so he doesn't want to ask help from the New Republic. Um, and yeah, so anyway, so after that, we go to all that. They leave the Anzellans, and then Jarn leaves Navarro, and here's where we have a pirate ship battle, which I loved. It was great. Like the action, the space action of this show has always been, like, for me, top notch. They've done a great job, and this is no exception. This was an awesome battle through an asteroid field, and just, oh, it was so fun. It was a fun scene. I loved it. He managed to destroy several of the fighters. Once again, the guy that they let go, he pushes them into another ship, which is commanded by a sort of seaweed-looking kind of captain thing. I wonder if the ship's going to come into play later, or the captain, whatnot. I don't know. I have nothing except for side quests in this episode so far. So who knows how it's all going to add up. Anyway, he manages to hyperspace out without inputting any coordinates, which is kind of weird, but that's a nitpick, but I did notice it and I have to bring it up. And then while they're in hyperspace, Grogu sort of notices these sort of space whales, that sort of happen through hyper drive thing. I forget what it's called at the top of my head, but yeah. So you see those sort of space whales, and then so they get off another planet that's in the Mandalore system, where Bo-Katan is, and instead of all of her followers, like, he's going to go join her. And what happens? All of her forces have disbanded. They won't accept her because she doesn't have the dark saber. And she has abandoned her plans to reclaim Mandalore, and that Djarin should, go himself by this. That she's just sick of everything. Like, you have Death Watch, which she was a part of, by the way. So, but I mean, Death Watch, and then his tribe. I forget what they're called off the top of my head. Essentially how just branches of them just kept on tearing their people apart. And I mean, I get that, but it's just like, so what are you doing here? You're just sitting on this chair, just look bored out of your mind. down on your luck. And yeah, so I don't know how she's gonna be something in this season. Who knows what at this point? But anyway, after that he takes off, and I guess we're going to Mandalore, and that's sort of where we leave off. So that's episode 1. Again, there were things I liked about this episode. There were some interactions I enjoyed, but for the most part, this episode just seemed like, again, in a video game, you go to a hub area and you just get a bunch of side quests. And it's just like, or even the main quest, where it's just like one quest is just like go to somewhere in the hub area. And then that's just like, oh, you need to get something on another planet. Come back. Go back. It seemed very contrived, very forced. There were things that I didn't like. So once again, like, I enjoyed it, but there were a lot of things that make me worried for this season, unfortunately. So that's why I gave it a 6 out of 10. So anyway, that is it for this one. So there's going to be 8 episodes in this. This one was like 30 something minutes, 34 minutes, something like that, not including credits. And yeah, this just seems really, really short, especially with how this first episode just did not overwhelm. So hopefully some of these other episodes can get the job done, or else otherwise I'm kind of worried for this season. Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it gets better. Hopefully there's a plan. But yeah, I think that's it for me on this. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will catch you guys next time. See ya.